is on the other side of the state, and he's going to be delivering a speech on the economy. He's doing that because he hasn't delivered a recovery for the economy. And he's going to be a person of eloquence as he describes his plans for making the economy better. But don't forget, he's been president for 3.5 years. And talk is cheap. Action speaks very loud. And if you want to see the results of his economic policies, look around Ohio, look around the country, you'll see that a lot of people are hurting. A lot of people have had some real tough times. And the policies the president put in place did not make America create more jobs. As a matter of fact, he made it harder for America to create more jobs. Now, when he was recently elected, he went on the Today Show. And he was asked about what he'd do, how he'd measure his success. He said, look, if I can't turn the economy around in 3 years, I'll be looking at a one-term proposition. And he's right. He is looking at a one-term proposition. He's going to be saying today that he wants 4 more years. He may have forgotten. He talked about a one-term proposition if he couldn't get the economy turned around in 3 years. But we're going to hold him to his word. Now, I know that he will have all sorts of excuses, and he'll have all sorts of ideas he'll describe about how he'll make things better. But what he says and what he does are not always the exact same thing. And so if people want to know how his economic policies have worked and how they perform, well, they can talk to their neighbor and ask whether things are better. They can talk to the 50% of college kids graduated from college this year that can't find a job. They can talk to the people who represent the unemployed. The president said that if we let him borrow $787 billion for a stimulus, he'd keep unemployment below 8% nationally. We've now gone 40 straight months with unemployment above 8%. But then he'll say, well, but the things he's been doing have been good and helped create growth and put people back to work. Oh, really? Go check on that. Go to small employers or big employers that you know in your community. Talk to people like Ken or Dave. Talk to other employers in this room. Talk to people you know that run a retail store or a small manufacturer and say, did President Obama's policies help put people back to work? Or did they make it less likely for you to hire people? And I have a prediction to make, because I've been doing that all over the country and talking to small employers and big employers, and I hear day in and day out, they feel this administration sees them as their enemy. They feel that the Obama policies have made it harder for them to put people back to work. Almost everything the president has done has made it harder for entrepreneurs to start a business, has made it less likely for businesses like this to be able to hire more people. And again, go ask business people. You can do your own survey. Anybody out there who doesn't know how to vote, doesn't know who can do a better job getting this economy going, can go talk to the people. Talk to the people in business and do the hiring. Talk to the employees that want to be hired and ask them, did the president's policies make things better or worse for getting jobs? Let's just go through it one by one. That stimulus didn't work. That stimulus didn't put more private sector people to work. How about Obamacare? The president said the other day that he didn't know that Obamacare was hard for small business. Oh, really? The Chamber of Commerce carried out a survey, some 1,500 businesses across America. 75% of those people surveyed said Obamacare made it less likely for them to hire people. Think of that. Then there was this financial regulatory reform, Dodd-Frank. You got some bankers, everybody goes to a bank from time to time. Go to your credit union or bank and ask them, did Dodd-Frank help you out? Did it make it more likely for you as a bank to be able to renegotiate loans with small businesses or help people with their mortgages? Did it make it easier for you to make new loans? Or did Dodd-Frank make it harder for you in the banking business? Did it make you pull back? And what you're going to hear is that small business was not helped by Dodd-Frank, and small banks and community banks weren't helped to make loans because of Dodd-Frank. Then there were the president's energy policies. Now, I know today he's going to talk all about how he's going to really give a boost to energy. But talk to the people in the coal industry and ask whether his regulations have helped them mine coal. And what they'll tell you is on almost every front, he's made it harder to get coal from the ground and made it less likely for people to be able to use it. As a matter of fact, as a candidate, he said that if you build a coal-fired plant, you'll go bankrupt if his policies are implemented. So we're not taking advantage of the coal we could. How about gas? Go talk to the people in the natural gas world and ask them what it's like under the Obama administration. They'll tell you that the administration is trying to push itself in to regulate the production of natural gas in such a way that it's less reliable and harder to use our gas. Talk to the oil people. They'll tell you that he put a moratorium on drilling in the Gulf. Can't drill in Anwar. Aren't drilling in the Outer Continental Shelf off of Virginia. On all three of those resources that we have in abundance, this is a president that's made it harder for us to create jobs there and to get low-cost energy to manufacturers like this one. And there's one more. You don't need to ask people about this one. You already know the answer. Did he get that pipeline in from Canada? No. I can guarantee you if I'm president on day one, we're going to get the approval from that pipeline from Canada, and if I have to build it myself to get it here, I'll get that oil in America. One of the things Ken spoke to you about briefly, and he's actually been to Washington to testify about, is the fact that trade is good. Of the business people I met with just a few minutes ago, a number of them said that their business relies pretty substantially on selling products to other nations. It's good for us to be able to trade with other nations. It creates jobs here. I happen to think there are enormous opportunities in places like Latin America. Huge market area so close to us, where we have natural competitive advantages. And some of these businesses are taking advantage of that. Now China and the nations of the European Union over the last 3.5 years have made real inroads in Latin America and other places of the world with trade agreements and negotiated trade agreements. 44 different trade agreements being negotiated by China and European nations with other nations around the world. Guess how many trade agreements our president's negotiated? None. None. And then, of course, for the ones that we have, now and then people sign agreements, but then they don't live up to them. I heard today about a number of circumstances where our friends in China, who are important trading partners, and hopefully will be on the same page as us on trading matters, but nonetheless they seem to have a penchant for stealing intellectual property. Counterfeiting our goods, stealing our technology, our brand names, our trademarks, our know-how. That kills American jobs. Every now and then you hear presidential candidates talk about how they're going to crack down on it. Well, on day one, I'll label China a currency manipulator, and that will allow me to apply tariffs where they steal our intellectual property and kill jobs. So as you look at the president's record, it is long on words and short on action that create jobs. And again, talk is cheap. Action speaks loudly. Look what's happened across this country. If you think things are going swimmingly, if you think the president's right when he said the private sector is doing fine, well, then he's the guy to vote for. But when he said that, there was such an outpouring of response from the 23 million Americans out of work or underemployed that I think today he's not going to say it again. I think it's more likely he's going to say, give me 4 more years, even though I didn't get it done in the first 3.5. In my experience in thinking about people who I want to have work for me, whether it's my doctor, the person that's going to be painting the house, I want to make sure they did a good job the first time. And if they didn't, I want someone who can do a better job. Let me tell you where I take the country. I love America. I happen to believe that the principles that made America the powerhouse economically we are have been eroded by this president. I think he's made it harder for small business people to open their doors, for entrepreneurs to build businesses, for companies like this to know that their products won't be stolen by competitors overseas. I think he's made it harder for the American enterprise system to work, and I want to change that. I want to make it once again, America once again, the most attractive place in the world for job creators. And it's not just because I love job creators, it's because I love jobs. I want more good jobs for the American people, and I want such competition for good workers that salaries and wages go up so people make more money. I want to help the middle class of America, and I'm going to do it. I happen to be convinced, having been able to go all across the country, that we're poised to see a resurgence of American economic vitality, with companies growing, with jobs growing, with employers bringing jobs back to America as opposed to sending them elsewhere. That won't happen under this president. That'll happen if we change the course of this country. Let me tell you how I do it. I'll mention just a few things. First, energy. You see, I happen to like the sources of energy that we have in abundance in this country. Oil, coal, and natural gas. And I'm going to take advantage of those to get the energy costs low so we can have more jobs, manufacturing jobs, and bring them back to this country. That's number one. Number two, I'm going to get rid of this great big overhang that came from one piece of legislation that has frightened businesses small and large and made them less likely to hire people. I'm going to get rid of Obamacare. So number one, energy. Number two, Obamacare. Number three, I'm going to go after the deficit. You see, I think people who are thinking about investing in America and making this their future and putting their life savings into America to build a business and have it here for decades, they wonder what the dollar is going to be worth when they see our country year after year after year spending more money than we take in. Trillions of dollars of debts. This president has put together, he has put together almost as much public debt as all the prior presidents combined. You want 4 more years of that? You call that forward? That's forward over a cliff. That's forward on the way to Greece. I don't want that. I will finally get America on track to have a balanced budget, and we will limit the size of government. Those are 3 big ideas. Let me tell you some others. I want to open up new markets for American goods. And I want to crack down on nations like China when they cheat. I will not allow them to consistently steal our intellectual property and manipulate their currency in a way that kills American jobs. That has to stop. Look, it's coming back, folks. America's a great nation. The entrepreneurship here, the passion of our people, our conviction and the hope of tomorrow, our affection for our kids and coming generations, these things combined with policies that encourage the private sector will cause a resurgence, a rebirth of America's economy in a way that's going to surprise people all over the world. I'm convinced of it. I've had the chance to go across the country and see entrepreneurs of all kinds. I'm inspired by them. I met a woman who owns a business. I said to her, "How'd you start your company?" She said, "Well, my husband lost his job, and he took a class he'd always wanted to take in upholstering." And she said, "Because I was a little better manager, I started a company and hired him as my first employee." And she went on to hire other people. She now has 40 people who work in her upholstering company. I met a woman from Las Vegas who has a business renting furniture to casinos and to conventioners that come to Las Vegas. When President Obama said, no need to go to Las Vegas for company meetings, don't spend money there, her business collapsed. And she wondered whether she'd lose it and lose the jobs of the people who work for her. And she had an idea. Instead of just renting these black naugahyde sofas and black coffee tables, that's what it looked like she had in the warehouse that I saw, she decided to teach her people how to make those things. And so she now makes that furniture with those same employees and sells it, not just to the convention area, but also around the country. I met a guy who had a back problem, a Russian immigrant, Alexis Lukianov, San Diego. He had a better idea for how to do back surgery. Started a little company to do that. Now it employs 1,300 people. company called New Basic. I mean, it's just amazing to go across the country and see what is so unique about this country. I saw Marco Rubio the other day. He spoke to a group of people. He said something that struck me well. He said when he was a boy, he lived in a very modest home, and he said there were some pretty fancy homes that could be seen around the Miami area. He said, you know what? I never heard my parents say, why won't those people give us some of what they have? He said, I never heard my parents say, why won't the government give us some of what they have? Instead, they said, isn't it great to live in a country where with hard work and education and risk-taking and maybe a little luck, you can achieve that yourself. America is the land of opportunity. We want good jobs here. We want to make it the place where people want to come with their ideas. We want this to be the home of dreamers. We want them to start enterprises and to hire one another and to cause our wages to go up again. It's an extraordinary country. The sacrifice made by the people of America to give us the opportunity we enjoy really can't be counted. I was, Memorial Day, I was in San Diego and had the privilege of being with a number of veterans. I introduced 3 of them. One, a Second World War vet, was a lookout on the USS Tennessee. He happened to be there on the day of Pearl Harbor. He said his eyes locked on the eyes of the pilot bringing armament, bringing bombardment in to attack their ships. And he was injured in the attack, but he wanted to serve for 33 years in the United States Navy. I had him stand and be recognized. And, but I noticed there weren't as many Second World War vets as there used to be at Memorial Days when I was younger. And they're a little older. They can't hold the torch quite as high as they used to. That torch is now going to have to be seized by us, by our generations. It's a torch of freedom and hope and opportunity. It's not America's torch, but it's America's duty and honor to hold that torch high so it can be seen by the world. This is our time. We can either continue on a path to become more and more like Europe, with bigger and bigger government, taking more and more from the American people, directing our lives and telling us how to run our enterprises. If we take that path, we know where it leads. It leads to chronic high unemployment like Europe has, low wage growth like Europe has, and potential fiscal calamity like we're seeing at the doorstep of Europe today. Or we can instead return to the principles that made America, America. We can once again have a nation that leads the world in entrepreneurship, in innovation, in job creation, in economic vitality, in wage growth. That's the America I want. I spent my life in private enterprise, 25 years. I know how businesses work. I know what causes them to leave and what will bring them back. I want to use that experience to get America working again. For me, it's all about good jobs for the American people and a bright and prosperous future, and I'm going to bring it with your help. Thank you so much.